Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So I reckoned it's about time that I just put my thoughts out about the recent thing that they're doing with gold selling. Now, it's not really gold selling. Essentially, what Blizzard are going to do is on the in-game store, they will be selling these little tokens. And of course, they sell the tokens for real cash, then the token is put into your bag, and you can either sell that token on the auction house, or you can just, I'm going to assume, click on it, and it will add some game time. This is essentially just like the Plex system from EVE Online or the Cred system from WildStar. Now, with that said, there's there's a bunch of positives, there's a few negatives, yes, but I think it's just worth pointing out what they are in my opinion and just seeing what we think. So first of all, I think obviously the main thing that this really does do is it slightly murders gold selling. Gold selling's pretty nasty business, and while back in the day it usually did involve a lot of people working in very cramped conditions, basically just, well, quite literally gold farming, that's where the meme of it all comes from, and these days, gold farming is actually mainly based on account hacking, so if they, make gold selling less profitable, it means it's less profitable to hack people's accounts. So really it does make a lot of sense for Blizzard to do this, and it's a win-win. They will probably save money because of less hacked accounts, and then of course they will earn money from selling the game time tokens. Now, if it's like any of the other games that have a system like this, the tokens will be a little bit more expensive per month. So that generally does make sense though, because it needs to be just a tiny bit more expensive to just have it all make sense, I suppose. So that's the main benefit, right? It's killing off gold selling, which I suppose just really tones down on a bunch of nasty things that go on in-game. With that said, though, I don't think gold selling's really as big a problem as it used to be back in the day. I remember logging in and, you'd look at trade chat and you'd see loads of gold sellers, and you'd go into town and you'd see them on these, I don't know if it's bots or whatever, but they'd have maybe 50 or 60 level ones who were all lying down on the floor in such a way that it spells the name of the website. Some of that was funny, but gold selling was very rampant back in the day, and I just don't think it's that big a deal now, but still, this is nice. I suppose it probably is something that they could have done with a few years ago. Anyway, let's talk about the actual gameplay implications. So first of all, and of course most obviously, less wealthy players in terms of their in-game currency will be able to get the gold that they need. Obviously this is, I think, a decent thing. There are a lot of bind and equipped items, and also a lot of crafted items that are just completely out of the reach of so many people who just, don't have the time, will, whatever, to earn gold. And here's the thing, by selling one of these game time tokens, you're essentially, in a way, paying someone else to make the gold for you, and then you just trade that gold in for a token. Now you have the gold, and you can buy the item. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like this cool redistribution of wealth, which I think's really interesting, and I guess it will help to level out the playing field in terms of people's, the availability of access to these expensive bind and equipped and crafted items, which is good. And then of course, if you've got less time to play and you can't make gold, you can essentially just pay someone who's good at the auction house to make gold for you, and then when it comes to the time where you want that gold, you list your token, and of course someone with a lot of money buys the token and you get their money. It's a cool little way. Like, a lot of people just think about this as trading, but technically you are just trading time. Really, you're trading your job time, or real life money making time, for someone else's gold making time, which is, it's just nifty. I think it's one of those cool little dynamic systems. So that's really all the good stuff for the less wealthy players. It's hard to know really how much these are going to go for. I've seen people speculate from anywhere between 20,000 gold per token, and let's just assume a token's a month, and between 20,000 gold and sort of 40 to 60, maybe some people even saying 80,000 gold. We'll have to see how that pans out. Personally, I think somewhere around 45 would make sense. I mean, I can make 45k in a month, no bother. Though that said, I am in a position where I would rather be spending my in-game gold on things like, say, just cool items, or maybe some rare mounts if they pop up on the auction house. Now, with those benefits to the less wealthy players in terms of in-game gold covered, let's talk about the benefits for those who are wealthy, because there is one that I suppose is a little bit hidden. Now, of course, millions of gold will be redistributed to other players. This in general will just make the economy a bit more lively, and essentially, if you're a gold maker who can easily afford your World of Warcraft subscription, then you are going to benefit from being a super rich person with a lot of clout in terms of the economy. You're going to be in that position, and the economy itself will have loads of people with more gold. Essentially, you're just going to have more potential buyers that have more money because your competition, in terms of the other wealthy people who maybe, find it hard to afford the game, they're going to be offloading their gold. Whereas you won't need to do that, and you could essentially hoover up a lot of money, and I think that could be pretty damn awesome. And then, of course, the very obvious benefit for the super wealthy people in terms of the in-game money is they can play World of Warcraft for free, which is pretty awesome. They've got to imagine that a lot of people with the sort of auction house mindset, and I'm not really one of these people yet, I want to get more into the auction house, but I'd imagine that they're the sort of people who in real life would be pretty good at making money anyway when it comes to, jobs and all that stuff. Now that I think about it, I wonder what it would be like if you could trade one of these tokens in for credit towards like a mount on the in-game store. Something like that would be pretty crazy. No idea how it would pan out, though. I'm not actually positing the idea, it just sort of popped into my head while I was making this. Anyway, so I think the fundamental point here is that no gold is actually added to the in-game economy. It's just redistributed amongst people. So I guess that rather than selling gold, they are more just selling an item that other players are happy to trade their gold for. And because that gold is earned with time, it's basically just you, buying someone else's time. Just instead of receiving time, which obviously is impossible, you receive gold, and instead of receiving money, they receive something that is worth money. Your game time. Pretty awesome system. Now, that's the main benefits. I don't think anything there is actually bad. It's all good, right? It seems win-win. There's more money going around to more people because the super wealthy people are just going to be offloading a little bit of gold every month to pay for their sub. And then if you are a big mogul gold maker person who can't afford the game, well, you're just going to have more fun. And then if you're not particularly wealthy, guess what? You've got access to all this awesome stuff. I think that should be pretty good. However, there are one or two little problems. And I think it really just comes into the competitive aspect of World of Warcraft when it comes to the PvE side of things, especially the black market auction house. On the top end of the raiding scene, it just might get a bit odd. Because basically, right, mythic gear is sold in the BMAH. And even more insanely right now, Blackrock Foundry mythic gear is being sold. Personally, I think that's absurd. BRF isn't out. Its mythic gear absolutely should not be available to any player. But what's happened is that for the really top-end guilds or the people who are just trying to go for their server first, they now feel pressured to get these, Blackrock Foundry trinkets. I suppose that if buying these tokens to get gold becomes a thing, then it could just make this sort of odd, very competitive thing between guilds where they're essentially just hoovering up as much money as they can via the tokens, then trying to grab as much gear as possible. I don't know how all that's going to turn out, and really I think the best way to fix this problem would just be to not have mythic gear appear in the black market auction house at all. I personally just don't think it makes that much sense. It would be, I suppose, a very easy and quick solution to a problem that, let's be honest, isn't going to affect the vast majority of players, because the majority of us are not in top guilds who are getting server first or anything like that. We're in, the guilds that are ranked 10 to 30 on their server, or 10 to 40, and, the people who are just chilling out. We don't care about this, but to those competitive people, I think it does matter a lot, and there's a bit of a trickle down. I've certainly seen a lot of the really high-end PvEers on Twitter, actually, talk about the idea of just removing this mythic stuff, and the way I see it, if they're for it, then I think it's reasonable enough for me to be for removing these mythics. Now, the next problem I think isn't going to be that major in practice. Essentially, account hacking against people with these items could be a thing, but I don't think it's going to catch on that much. It's not like you can just turn these tokens into real-life money anyway, so it would just be these gold hackers nabbing someone's account, selling their tokens, and then collecting that gold. Now, while all this is possible, I suppose Blizzard may have some sort of weird implementation thing which would solve it, that I'm not aware of because they haven't really revealed their full plans. But I just don't think it's going to catch on that much with the way that the economy will go, because a lot of people will be in a situation where it's like, right, okay, maybe Bob the gold seller is $1 per 5,000 gold cheaper, but I'm not going to break the terms of service and run that risk. Why just not get it from Blizzard and do it the right way? That's a really, really appealing thing to a lot of people. I'm pretty sure that, well, maybe not the majority of the people listening, but a large proportion, a sizable proportion of the people listening would have bought gold if it was a sort of legal thing from Blizzard. And now that Blizzard are making it legal, I think it's something a lot of people will be interested in, and when there is an option to do it the legit way, I just don't think it makes any sense to break TOS. So really, gold selling should be pretty damn dead, and that's definitely a good thing. I suppose one other thing, which isn't really a problem, but I'm just going to mention it here, is that if lots of people are sort of getting interested in gold because of these tokens, perhaps it might encourage more behavior that generates raw gold. For an example, that gold making guide that I did a while ago about just running the Cataclysm 25 heroics. Perhaps if gold becomes more of a thing and people just sort of start to think, oh hey, these items sort of have a real world value when you compare them to the price of a token, well, maybe it's just going to lead them towards methods which generate gold, which then would, I suppose, increase the rate at which inflation happens in the market. That's just a random thought, though. It should probably balance itself out, though, when you think about it. So really, I don't see many problems here. I see lots of pros, and I am totally cool with it. Many of the complaints that I've seen are just from people who don't seem to understand the system. They think that it is actually selling gold. It's not. No new gold is generated. You know, it's not like this is, say, the Bank of England just printing a few £billion and saying, oh hey government, here's some money, don't worry, it's going to be fine. It's not like that. It's not generating money, which I think really does fix the main concern of most people. So they are really my thoughts when it comes to this. I think it should be fine. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and there's going to be something exciting here for a lot of people. You're either going to get access to lots of things you wouldn't have had access to, or get your game time paid for you, or just make a crap ton of money from a better economy, so it should be cool. Anyway, that is it for me. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think about the various pros and cons of this system down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.